All right, welcome back to Find Your Amazingness podcast. I am your host Vera, and today I have a very exciting guest. I have Peppi Robinson, who is a queen consultant, which is an epic title. I love it. I am so excited to have you here. And before I let you tell more about who you are and what you do, I just want to say that the reason that I wanted to have this conversation is because usually in my podcast, I have conversations about kind of like personal development and like mindset and business and things like that. But I think so many people forget the importance that relationships and dating actually has on like every aspect of our area and how we show up, whether it's building our business or just making courageous moves in our lives. So I really wanted to have this conversation because personally I find this so important, and dating has been like it's such a big part of my life and how it affects like the way that I do everything in my life. So I'm just so excited for this conversation. So welcome, Peppi.
Oh my God, thank you so much. And thank you for having me. I love being here. And oh my God, it's so good to be here and talk about these things. Like you said, dating and relationships, they are such an important part of your life. And people oftentimes forget that all your areas, like areas of your life, they are interconnected. And therefore, I would say dating is one of the most important aspects of your life, and it affects like all areas of your life. So it is very important to discuss these topics with you, especially if you have an audience of people who are, into self-development or, business world or whatever. So I think a lot of people are going to get, I would say, a lot of out of this conversation.
For sure. Yes. Okay. So please tell everyone who you are. What do you do? What does it mean to be a queen consultant? What's your background?
Okay. Well, first of all, hi everyone. My name is Peppi Robinson, aka Young Miss Robinson, and I am a queen consultant. I came up with the term by myself, actually. So the word queen consultant was something when I was thinking about what I do. I was like, well, do I want to call myself a coach or like, empowerment teacher or whatever? Like, what would be something different but would describe my work perfectly? So then I was like, queen consultant, of course, that's who I am. So basically what I am, for people who don't understand what that term means, is that I am a women's empowerment teacher and a podcaster, and I am running my own Instagram, which is Queens by Young Miss Robinson. And there I teach women in Finnish and in English. I mix both, about dating, energy work, a little bit of spirituality, self-worth, boundaries, expanding, their mind and all those kind of things. And that's the business that I've recently launched, and it comes with, the podcast and 101 coaching, and I'm currently working on all other things as well when it comes to that area. And about my background, we just found out that me and Vera, we come from the same kind of area in the small country of Finland, which is
from
great.
The woods.
Exactly, from like East Central Finland. And yeah, I have lived there plus in Australia and in Spain during the course of my lifetime. So I've seen a little bit of different cultures during my lifetime, and I'm currently living in Helsinki and finishing my master's for international business. So I have like a lot going on, I would say.
Yes, for sure. Okay, so could you explain, we both kind of mentioned it already a little bit, but like, why do you think the work that you do is so important, and like why having these sorry, conversations are so important in our world?
Well, first of all, this is like a lot of like very multi-faceted, is that the word? Like there are like many aspects of it. Yeah. So there are a lot of reasons why it is necessary. But first of all, we're living in times where women are growing and exploring their power and breaking free from the expectations of the society. So, as we know, historically, women have been put like in very small boxes and put down, and the patriarchy and everything has disempowered women in a lot of ways, and we have been disconnected from our feminine power, and we have been conditioned to stay small. So therefore, I feel like my work as a queen consultant is very important to allow women and to teach women how to reclaim that power, see themselves as, important, as queens, as capable, as, expansive type of characters, or like goddesses, or whatever you feel like you are, to that you are able to do whatever you feel like in this world, and you have all the power. And another aspect is, speaking of power, that in these modern times, when women are finally breaking free from those expectations or the chains of the patriarchy, we oftentimes were like mistakenly empowering ourselves through masculine terms, quote unquote masculine terms, if you know what I mean. So in order to feel equal or empowered, we oftentimes emulate men. We become quote unquote small men. We do what men do because that's the image of power. That's the image of being powerful. And that drives us into very like strongly into our masculine energy, which is sometimes it is good. But in my work, I feel like we should find the power within ourselves as women and in feminine terms, so that we can truly, embody our essence and our true power. So, and that we don't have to emulate men. So therefore, I feel like my work is very needed at this time. And this knowledge is something that is not discussed especially in the Finnish society. We are very unaware of these things. So I feel like by even educating people on this, it's very powerful, because then they can, plant the seed within their heads and, go and explore these topics even more and find their own authentic power as women.
Yes, I am so happy that you do what you do, because as you said, it's so necessary. And yeah, you're basically changing the world. So thank you for doing that.
You too. Oh my God. Thank you so much.
um, so what do you see as the most like common things that people struggle with when it comes to dating? What kind of things do you help people with, or what do you see are like the most common, struggles?
There are a few, actually. What I would say first and foremost, what I see the most through my work or through my inner circle or friends or acquaintances that I know, is the low self-worth is like the number one biggest problem. And with that comes the fact that you don't know your desires. So first of all, you are blind to your own value as a woman. You don't know it. Like, you have no idea of it. And it comes with the fact that you don't even know what you want in life. So basically you are, if I would use a very exaggerated example, you are like a racehorse with the black, eye patches like this running around, and you don't really know what you're doing, and you're just ending up in a lot of weird situations because nobody never told you that you're valuable and you have the right to have your desires, and you are very clueless of these things. And another very common thing is what I see, especially in Finland. I don't know if this is like relatable in other countries, maybe it is, but we mistakenly as women think that dating is all about chemistry, and just leading with emotions and, you know, how we feel and who is like hot and exciting and a little bit dangerous. And we don't realize that if we want to date intentionally and build long-lasting relationships, we have to look beyond that first chemistry and that first spark and that first feeling. So we don't realize that dating and relationships are a lot more than just initial feelings. It's far more than that. Those are the things that I see oftentimes women, you know, maybe not struggle, or some people do struggle, but they are a bit confused about these things and they don't realize that these are the things that you should be working on in case you want to find long-lasting and healthy and polarized relationships.
Yeah, this is what I have noticed as well, especially the like self-worth and like understanding who you are. I just had a really interesting conversation with my friend about this, where I feel like I have some friends who are extremely frustrated with their dating lives and kind of blind to like the fact that, and I sometimes struggle to like figure out how do I tell this, like say this to them, where I can see that they don't really, first of all, like know what they don't know their own word, they don't know what they want, and they like yeah, they kind of also don't know, because I feel personally that like if you don't know what you're looking for, who you are, what you bring to the table, like it's difficult to attract the right type of people in your life when you're just kind of like, I don't know,
all over the place.
yeah. And it's difficult to tell someone that like, hey, maybe the issue kind of is you, like
Exactly.
like maybe you're just gonna do some work on yourself and not, you know, expect. I see this so much where people expect to like find for the perfect person to show up in their life, and they haven't like kind of put any effort into themselves and know who they are, and you know, like, and I'm just there like, how do I tell a friend that like, girl, you just gotta like do some work, like maybe that's the issue. So also, I would love to hear if you have any advice on like, how do you break this to someone being like, or have you been in situations where you can see that, and then like, how would you express it to a friend, for example, that maybe you're the issue?
That's a great question, to be honest. Well, first of all, my entire business and this platform has started from this exact situation. So I found myself like in this kind of situation, which you just explained like a million times. So I was always the one listening to the problems and solving their problems or trying to solve them. But in fact, they weren't even ready to, you know, address the issue or have those problems solved. So I was like, fuck it, like, let's just drop the ball, you know, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to talk to women who are ready to hear this. So I had to almost completely, I do have those tendencies still, but like stop just giving advice to women or like my friends actually. And I realized that, you know, you have to be ready to receive the information. So people don't just magically change. They have to run through the wall. And then once they run through the wall and they realize like this can't continue anymore, that's when they are ready to usually change. So I created this platform so that I could serve women who are actually ready to hear advice. Turns out there are a lot of them. And now I no longer give free advice. It's just you have to pay me in order to have, you know, access to my advice or collaborate or whatever like we're doing now. But anyways, my advice for you would be that you can politely tell your friend that maybe, you know, start looking within, but then again, people have to realize that themselves first. So like you said, a lot of people love to outsource their problems and their desires and be like, just put them out there, like, yeah, I'm looking for my Prince Charming or the love of my life or whoever, but I don't have to do anything, which is bullshit.
Yep.
Like, that's just delusional. Like, everything starts with inner work within yourself. You have to build yourself first. You have to work on yourself first. And only through inner work you can attract a person who is, your perfect match or the person who you are meant to be with. Because let's say you operate in this low vibration, like I would assume that person does, what a person does when they are, messy and all over the place. And if you operate on this low vibration, of course you're going to attract the people who are on that same vibration. So if you are being toxic or, you have low vibration, you have low self-worth, you have no boundaries, whatever, you're going to attract the same kind of people because they recognize you, they recognize your aura, they recognize your energy, and they're like, yep, that's a match. And that's a continuous cycle, and that will continue and continue and continue until you are ready to break it and rise your self-worth and rise your vibration and, just push yourself up as a person and, grow. And then once you've done that work, you're going to start once again attracting people from that new level.
So fucking true. I have definitely lived through that whole process and say that 100%. And my solution that I've kind of come up with for my friends is that I just send them books or Instagram accounts or like programs. I'm just like, I don't want to give you advice. If you're actually ready, go read this book, go watch that video. I don't know. But like, yeah, that's kind of been because I've noticed that like my advice doesn't actually even work for them because they're just on a different, I don't know, reality with dating and how they feel about it. And it's
never gonna work. You have to be ready to receive information. And there is this saying that goes like, when a student is ready, the teacher will show up. So basically, if they're not ready to receive it. And, let this podcast be, for example, a episode that you just sent out to all of your friends.
Yes.
Here's all the information you need. Here you can hear, my thoughts, your thoughts, get on it. And this is all I'm going to say to you.
Yeah. But okay, so what would be your advice on like if a person is now ready to really like reclaim their self-worth, and like where does a person start with that journey? Like like what are kind of the first steps to understanding your value and then starting to like that you're able to actually attract then, the things that you want and even like demand for the things that you want?
Yeah, well, that's an interesting question. It can start, well, first of all, it starts when you are ready. So you decide when you are ready to work on yourself. So you can postpone this, like, that's the word, postpone it like as long as you want, for as, many years as you want. You can always tell yourself like, okay, I will address my issues, I will work on myself tomorrow, and then watch Netflix. We already know that, like, you can work, procrastinate on this forever. However, when you are ready to, basically, quote unquote, understand your value, you start always within. So I would advise for a lot of people to go to therapy, get coaching. It really depends on your situation. Some people have a lot of trauma, so therefore maybe therapy would be better. But then again, some people have just like smaller, let's say, mindset issues, so coaching would be maybe more beneficial for them. And I would definitely recommend start, reading self-development or books about relationships. Hire coaches. Like, I cannot address this enough. external opinions, views, content, all these things that are extremely important, because you have already lived with your thoughts, and it's clearly not taking you where you want to. So you need somebody outside of you to give you those fresh perspectives into your own brain. So coaching, therapy, whatever it is. And then you can also educate yourself, like on YouTube. So you just pick a topic that resonates to you. If we're talking about dating, I would say start buying courses on dating, start watching content on it. And then through that, gaining knowledge, you kind of start to reflect that on yourself. And then you start, growing from within. And when we think about understanding our value, I wouldn't advise women to wait for the understanding of their own value, because that's a very slow process. I would rather tell them to just choose your value. Like, as a woman, what is even understanding your value? It's basically choosing what you are worthy of. Nobody else can tell you what you're worthy of, or the understanding does not come from anywhere else. So as a woman, I would advise you to just choose your value. One day, wake up and be like, I'm worthy of this, I'm worthy of that, this is who I want to be, and this is what I wish to receive in my life, and this is what I'm available for. And once you've made that decision, you start to grow towards that. So basically, you start to become that person. You start to show up as that person. You can maybe in the beginning choose somebody like a celebrity or whoever who you admire, and you can be like, okay, what does she do? Let me, be inspired by her actions, or let me be inspired by her style, or whatever, or, seek external inspiration. But you can also, like, I think you should combine it with inner work, meditation, and thinking of what you wish to be. And then you start building yourself towards that. And obviously, it's much more easier done. It's much more easier to say it than actually do it. So it's easier said than done. But, it all starts from you and your actions. And once you've done that inner work through therapy, coaching, courses, YouTube, whatever, you're going to start, going towards that. And it's going to, feed itself, that process. And you asked, how can we firmly, demand what we deserve? For that, I would tell women that you don't really have to demand what you deserve. You have to embody the things that you deserve. So your desires and boundaries are within your embodiment. So let's say if, as a woman, you are somebody who wishes to receive quote unquote princess treatment or queen treatment, aka you want a gentleman who treats you like a queen. You don't really demand that. You don't go up to a man and be like, I want flowers, I want dates, I want car rides, I want vacations. Like, you don't go like aggressively like, this is what I want. But you rather embody that. So you show up as a queen. You show up as a woman who has these things done for her, who already knows what it feels like. Even if you don't, you fake it until you make it. So basically, you show up as this person. You don't argue about them. You can state your desires and the things that you like, but you never demand it, because demanding is not something that is going to attract things to you. So embody the person who already gets this treatment. If you wish to receive queen treatment, do you look like a queen? Do you act like a queen? What are your thoughts? How do you present yourself? Are these aligned with your desires? So that's something a lot of people have to ask themselves, like, how does this happen in my life? So I see a lot of women, like, let's say they have all these incredible desires and things they wish and demand, but once again, do they embody themselves? Oftentimes they don't, and therefore it's not theirs yet. And I do this to myself also. Like, I have these things what I want, but then I catch myself like, am I really ready for that? Am I able to embody that? Am I able to actually receive that? Or should I work on myself even a little bit more? Most of the time it's like, girl, you're not ready for it. Work on yourself.
Yeah. Oh my God. Okay. So many good points. First of all, the decision, like making the decision that like, okay, this is like who I am and what I want, what I choose to be worthy of is so true. Like, and it's so funny because now when I think about it, it aligns so strongly with what I do, and I help people to like make the courageous decision to like let go of their like unfulfilling job and like jump into the life that they want for themselves. And it's such a, like it's so much just about the decision that, hey, I deserve to feel this way and live this type of life. And it's the same thing with dating, that you just have to. And it's so funny because I'm like reflecting on my own life when I have just made these, like, especially this year, just so many kind of randomly like decisions. Like, I would love this type of like wild experiences, just like, I don't know, in the south of France, just some like cool shit like to happen. And like
Been there, done that.
and like I literally, like, I've been recently talking to my friends and like telling them like what's going on, and I'm just like, what is life? Like, I kind of jokingly I've been like journaling and like telling my friends like I want these type of things in my life, and kind of just as a joke, like, yes, it would be really cool to be invited to this type of event or like meet this type of people. And here I literally am like doing all of the things, and I'm just like, what the fuck is going on? And but it's really just about, I feel like, the boldness of being like brave enough to state even for yourself that, hey, this is what I want, and like this is what I deserve. So that's
Exactly.
so important. And the embodiment part of, yes, like you can't, as you said, like expect to be treated like a queen if like, because then it feels more so like someone is kind of like then they would have, the other person would have to kind of shape you into being a queen, which is a weird dynamic, which I don't think really happens anyway. So you
No.
just have to be that. And I love that you brought up the fact that, you know, sometimes you catch yourself, and it requires so much self-awareness to be able to catch
It
yourself being
does. It does.
like, okay, maybe I'm not at that level yet. Like, I am not embodying that level of my like self yet. And then that you need to kind of like go back and be like, okay, let me do some inner work and then I can go
Exactly.
out like then just like embodying this version of myself. So oh my God, I am just so happy that you're just everything that you're saying. I'm just like, yes, people need to hear this.
They do. And like you said, I feel like all these areas of your life, they are connected. Like I said in the beginning, they're interconnected. So if you are aligned with your standards and your values in this part of your life, so let's say like you teach women about entrepreneurship, marketing, you know, all these things, you teach everyone. Do you teach only women, or
It's mostly, so I teach women who want to like start their businesses and
yeah,
really like step into their power. Yeah.
perfect. So that it's like almost like they're like these two topics are like twins.
For
So
sure.
if you are aligned in your power, like in your power in your career, it should, you know, transfer into your dating world. But oftentimes what I see is, especially like in Finland, like ladies are usually super highly educated and they're very ambitious and they know their worth in their careers or their businesses or whatever they're doing or their academics, but that doesn't transfer, that same mindset doesn't transfer into dating, because there's a huge gap between those worlds, because we are thought to be ambitious, know our worth, go for the best outcomes, like, you know, in our education, and go for the career that we want, and, you know, grow ourselves like academically or career wise. But then none of this is being thought in relationships. So it's very normal in, for example, in Finland, to say, for a woman to say that I want a, you know, a high achieving, high earning career, I'm ambitious, and everyone's like, yeah, girl, go get it, you know, get your education, get your job, get the raise, you know, whatever. But if a woman says that, you know, I want a partner who is super, quote unquote, high value, whatever that means to anyone, but like is ambitious, is doing this, is doing that, you know, can take care of me, can provide, is financially stable, is a gentleman, is, you know, all these things, which is like these two worlds basically aligning, then she's like gold digger.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. So basically we are allowed to be ambitious and strategic and, you know, want a lot in one area of our lives, but the other one should be just going with the flow, which is not what I teach.
Yeah. But I also now thought about like probably one of the, or where I recognize where some of those like beliefs come from. When you think about like, especially early 2000s, like movies and series with a high achieving woman, she's always struggling in her love life. And it's kind of like either or, like you have to kind of choose. And then she falls in love with this cute countryside, small town, I don't know, like just like it just not what you were just talking about. Like that sort of like example hasn't really been shown to women. So it makes sense that women are kind of confused and like don't know that that's something that they could actually have in their life. And
I think you can agree that we come from a country where the mentality is either or, it's never you can have it all.
Yep.
So that definitely resonates like for women when it comes to dating. They don't realize that they can have it all. It's always like either or. Well, if he does this and he's like gentleman, and then there must be something wrong with him. Or if he's, you know, high earner, he must be a douchebag. All these limiting beliefs, like, oh my God, like there are just so many, which comes down to the either or mentality.
Yeah. And I love that I have been able to kind of break all of those beliefs, especially here in like dating people from like Monaco, for example, which is like where all the millionaires and billionaires live. And like getting the example of like that belief that all high earning men are assholes is so far from the truth. Like there are incredible men who are like so self-aware and have like, it's like are the sweetest, like, and just so I've just personally been so happy. Then I kind of want to be like, I've been wanting to like scream at everyone being like, hey, like you should come and see this shit, because it's like we've been fed this lie of what's real and true and possible. So
we have most definitely been sold a lie that you have to choose either love or financial security, or either love or, you know, something else. It's always either or. So I'm here for, you know, the great wake up or whatever it is, like great reset.
Yeah,
that, you know, it's no longer either or, it's we can have it all.
Exactly.
And I love that you've had that experience. It's so refreshing. And once you reach those new levels, you kind of start questioning everything you've seen before, and you really just want to wake everyone up, like, wake up, hello, like, please come to here. But a lot of people are still in their like mental prison, and it's hard to break free from there. And once again, it's everybody's own journey. So
yeah, for sure. Okay, my another question that my friend asked and wanted some advice on, and I think this is probably a common thing that people maybe sometimes struggle with, which is rejecting people. So how do we reject people, I don't know, confidently and in a like polite, respectful way? Like, do you have any advice on when, you know, someone is interested in you and you're not really feeling it? And like, how do we deal with all of that?
well, this really depends like in which stage of dating we are. So sometimes you have to reject somebody like on the street, you've never met them, they said, hey, how are you, can I have your number? You have to reject that. Or you have to reject a person who you've been dating for 3 months. So those situations are obviously a little different.
Yeah.
But in general, I would say you have to be firm, but you have to be warm. So how I reject people is always with kindness, especially men. Like I don't know what it's like to be man, but I can imagine it is not like easy. And it takes a lot of courage to, you know, go up to women. So I respect that. So therefore I want to be, you know, kind, but still firm. So I would say state your boundaries, state that you are not interested or you are, you know, not available for something. But I would say thank them for their time and interest. So, you know, give them a bit of kindness so that you're not like an asshole. But then again, be very firm in like what you are looking for and, you know, why you are not interested. So that combination is very important. And once again, like I really want to emphasize the fact that it's not easy to go up to a woman. So if we're rejecting men, we have to realize that it's not, you know, it's just requires a lot of confidence. So you don't want to be crushing men. So you basically want to, you know, reject them, but like be gentle about it.
Yes.
So always remember that. But then again, be honest. And once you've done it, then just remove yourself from the situation. Some men cannot take a no. So that's also an issue. But then again, I would say do not engage with that. So then you, once you've rejected them, you just move on. So always honest, but gentle. And never ghost men. Like that's the worst thing you can do. Ghosting energy is like a curse. So if you ghost men, let's say on Tinder or whatever, it comes back to you. So if you send that kind of energy out to the world, it will eventually bite you back. So I would say always be respectful, straightforward, stay classy, and do not ghost people because that sends bad vibes around.
Yeah. Oh God. Okay. That kind of, I felt a little bit of a with the ghosting. I'm not proud. I'm not proud of some of the things that I've maybe done, but yeah, we all have something that we can improve.
We do. And especially if somebody has invested their time, their energy, their money on you, you
Yeah.
have to be able to, you know, respectfully wrap it up and
Yeah.
let it go.
For sure. Yeah, it's definitely different when it's like if someone sends you a message on a dating app and you have maybe exchanged like 2 messages. I feel like it's a different situation to like just not reply if their reply was very, I don't know. I've had this so many times where I'm just like, okay, I can already see, I can feel the sexism. I can feel the like just the wrong vibes. So I'm just like,
Yeah.
I'll move on. But obviously if you've spent time together and like invested some time for each other, like then it's definitely different too.
It definitely depends how much energy you have exchanged and how much effort you have put into each other. So the more energy and the more effort somebody has put into you, basically the more time and thinking I would, invest into rejecting them. So if this is just a random dude on Tinder saying like, hey, what's up? How you doing, beautiful? Then you don't owe them anything, obviously. But if this is a man who has been consistently pursuing you for 3 months, then he deserves like a proper ending to the thing.
For sure. Yeah. Okay. Now I don't feel so bad about it anymore because I'm like,
yeah, you shouldn't.
Okay. How do we not settle? We've kind of been talking about this, like, embodying the person and the life that you want to have. Do you have any other thoughts on like how to avoid settling for, just in dating in general, whether it's one date or a relationship, or what kind of thoughts do you have about this?
Well, settling, first of all, is very common. People oftentimes they settle. Oh my God. Like, I feel like more people settle than people go for their actual desires. So it's alarming. For me, it's alarming to see how many people actually settle just for anything. And how to avoid settling? Well, basically, number one thing is to once again go back within yourself and know your desires. So for example, write down a list. I've actually shared this tip on my podcast before on how to avoid typical dates. Like I said, I can't remember the episode's name, but it's like a basic coffee date. So for example, you should work on yourself, know your desires. So you can do this like a little exercise at home to visualize your standards and desires. So I would, as a woman, I've done this myself. So you draw a square, and outside of the square, you have your standards. So the things that you are looking for, basically the things that are non-negotiable. So you are looking for a person who is reliable, communicates well. Your standard is that he is a gentleman, whatever that means to you. Your standard is that he is in his masculine energy, he's pursuing you, whatever your standards and non-negotiable things are. And then within the container or the square, I would state my desires. So I desire romantic dates. I desire, a day trip to somewhere pretty, whatever. I desire a romantic getaway, like whatever you desire. I desire deep connection. I desire sexy spark. And then once you know that those two things, you can always look at them. So your standards and your non-negotiable things, they protect your desires. So that's why you write desires within the square. And you can always go back to those when you feel like, am I settling? So you can always refer back to those and look at it. So that's one great tip on how to avoid settling, because sometimes you start to settle and you start to negotiate on your desires or standards because you have certain feelings. So feelings oftentimes cloud judgment. But when you have stated those two things for yourself very clearly, you can always refer back to them and kind of like clear your own vision and remind yourself that, hello, this is who I am, this is what I want. Am I getting it? If not, what needs to be done? So settling happens in situations where you don't really know what you want and you haven't really thought of those things. And the thought of the feeling of settling hits you once you realize that you are so far away from your standards and your desires. So the best tip to avoid those is to have them crystal clear in your head and act accordingly.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes. I think I think it's so important to like, and also I think it's so ridiculous to be dating and then be disappointed for not getting things that you want if you actually don't even know what you want. Like that's kind of it's not logical. It doesn't make sense. Like
It
how
doesn't make any sense.
no, so you have to know what you want and also I think what I've noticed a lot is that people kind of they might, you know, now state all those things, they write them down and then they go out dating. Maybe they're not yet embodying the you know the version of themselves, they're not attracting it, they stop believing that it's actually possible to get everything that they want. And personally what I've noticed is that you kind of sometimes just need like more. I feel like people give up super easily. I think it's the same with business as well, you know, like if things don't work out immediately, they're just like, this is not meant to be, whatever, not gonna do it, I'll just go back to my job, whatever. And I think you just need exposure because like the more you just stick to it, the like I know this is what's meant for me and this person will show up eventually. And you might get even more clarity on like this has happened to me where I had stated some things that I was like, okay, now I definitely know from like past relationships, like what do I not want? And also like what are my standards, like minimum things that I will tolerate. But also I've definitely been surprised by, you know, finding people who are even like I like, you know, got so much clarity. I'm like, oh my God, even that is like possible. And you can only really get that from like getting the exposure, like meeting people and having the faith that, you know, amazing people exist and you're able to attract them.
They do. And once you get that reinforcement that it's out there, you're gonna be like, okay, I'm never gonna go back there. Like I'm never gonna go back to where I used to be. And those standards and desires, they might, like in the first place, in the beginning, feel like this is too intimidating. Is this even possible? You know, because they are only desires or standards at that time. But once somebody else basically reinforces them to you, and sometimes even exceeds your expectations, then you are like, boom, like I was right. Like this is meant to be. And those experiences only come when you know, seek for them and when you are ready for them. For example, I personally made the decision that, you know, I'm gonna only date gentlemen. I made this decision like a few years ago. And once I got like the reinforcement for that, and these men started to show up, and some of them even exceeded my standards at the time, I was like, oh my God, like these men do exist. Like, what? Because I never realized. And once you meet the people who even exceed your standards and your desires, you're gonna raise them automatically. So this is like a forever going on thing. So ladies, do not be afraid of your desires. Do not be afraid of your standards. Somebody will meet them. The best part is some man will even exceed them. Is it exceed? Yeah, like go beyond them.
Yes. Yeah. And I think another thought that I just had is like friendships and like the people in general in your life, because I think also you can feel stuck and feel like you're not worthy of having these type of amazing relationships if everyone if your friends, if your family, if like the people that you spend time with have shitty relationships, and when you tell them that, hey, this is what I'm looking for, and they're like, you're so unrealistic or like full of yourself to like want that. So I think I think with like dreams in general and like the things that you want to have, like you need to be selective. Who do you share them with?
Absolutely.
And also be conscious of who do you surround yourself with, you know, like having the example of other people who want the same kind of standards.
Absolutely. Do not share your desires or standards or your dating views or whatever with people who have shitty relationships. Never take advice from women who are in shitty relationships, because like we discussed in the beginning, when people are operating on a low vibration, when they are in a low situation where they are in a shitty place, they cannot reach your high desires, high, your mindset, your vibration. They're going to drag you down. It's easier to drag person down than for you to pull them up. So be very mindful of who you desire, share your desires with, because they might try to drag you down, and that's never gonna, take you anywhere. So it's very important to, protect your precious energy and only share and encounter with people who respect that, hype you up, and preferably are on the same level. And the best case scenario is always to, exchange opinions and, thoughts with a person who is even above you. So they're gonna allow you the space to grow.
Yeah. Yes. 100%. What are your thoughts on dating apps and how to show up there, and how can you attract the right people on different apps?
Oh, well, I do like dating apps. So a lot of people are against dating apps, and I do understand why. They can be very confusing and time consuming. But the thing is, if you learn the logic of dating apps and you know what you're doing, they can be extremely effective. So if you are there just running around like a headless chicken, not screening the men, I'm talking about men because I date men, and you're just messing around and you're attracting all these kind of weird dudes, of course it's disempowering. And of course you're going to be like, for example, Tinder is shit. Well, the truth is that Tinder itself, it's a very neutral thing. It's the people who are there and who, especially the person who is using the app, aka you. So Tinder is not shit, you are shit, basically. That's very harsh, but
Yes.
your actions are shit. Let's say that. You are not shit, your actions and the way you act there is shit. So my thoughts are that be very intentional, be very clear. You don't have to feel bad about anything. For Tinder and like apps in general, it's great because you get to have access to so many people. Therefore, you can be very selective, and you should be very selective there and screen the kind of men you are dealing with there very, very like clearly. So once again, go back to your desires, go back to your standards, like we talked about. Think about those and use the dating apps according to your desires and standards. And your own profile, of course, should be aligned with those. Once again, if you want a, certain kind of man, think about what does he want. Do you look like it? Do you embody it? And do you show it on your profile? Once all these things are aligned, most likely dating apps are going to work for you fabulously.
Yes. Yeah, I love dating apps as well. And one thing that I also thought of is that personally, like I'm so like with my profile, I have also intentionally put some things in there that will repel the wrong people, like
Amen.
Like I know that when I mention, for example, like that spiritual growth is important to me, or feminism, and like I don't remember what other things I have there, but I know that for some men it's like she's a whatever, like they have their own, thoughts of like what those things mean and la da 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 da. But I don't want to even like, talk to people who are not aligned on those like values. So I think also that like being very firm on like who you are, what's important to
Yes.
you, and like
Yes.
stating it boldly. That's
Yes.
far.
I definitely agree. It's the best thing. And because, there are so many people in the dating apps, it is very important to, show up fully 100% right about yourself, like add many pictures. A lot of people go on Tinder without no, bio. I'm like, excuse me, what the fuck? What am I supposed to know know about you, like based on your bio, which says absolutely nothing? Am I supposed to guess? I don't think so. On to the next one. So like these things are all very important. And I would love to add to that, like what you just said, that once again, think about the people who you wish to date. So if you put like things that that will repel the kind of people who you do not wish to, encounter with, then you should definitely put there something that's gonna attract the kind of person you wish to attract. For example, if you wish to attract a man who does sports, who is athletic, well, girl, I would strongly advise that there is something that implicates that you are a sporty person as well.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, oh my God. I'm so happy to talk to someone who has like positive feelings about dating apps, because I feel like everyone is always complaining about them. And I'm just like, it's just like, I don't know. And I struggle to explain them like how to use it properly, but I love the way that you just explained it. So I think it's gonna, if people are truly listening and paying attention to what you just said, like they can completely change the way that apps work for them. So
Yes. And once you kind of click that, you unlock that knowledge and you kind of realize how to build that Tinder profile. By the way, if you need help with that, you can, come to my coaching. I will help you. But once you click that and you unlock that knowledge, it's going to start working like magic.
yes.
So it's very empowering once that's like unlocked.
Yeah, and because I also think that so many people use it as an excuse for why their dating life sucks. They're just like, Tinder is shit. That's why I can't, like, they're kind of like, what's the word? Like putting the same what I said earlier, that people don't see that they are the problem, and they're like putting the responsibility on the outside, that like the world sucks. I can't,
Yeah.
find these things because of this app or the world and da 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 da. And like,
Yeah.
obviously the world is changing and the way that people date is changing, but I think as long as you keep believing that, like, oh, now it's so difficult to date because people are not committing or blah 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 blah, I think it's just like that will be your reality if you
Yeah.
believe that to be true.
Yeah. Watch your words, because they define your reality. They define your actions. They define your attention. So if your attention is, towards people who are not ready to commit, if you tell yourselves that, men are shit, men are, they lie, they're not trustworthy, they play you, you feed this kind of narrative into your head, guess what you're gonna attract? Guess what you're gonna find? So it's funny because human brain is, or has evolved during thousands of times to look for the things that you think of. If you think of red cars, guess what you're gonna see out in the traffic? Red cars. If you constantly think about that dating is shit, men are shit, and they just, are not ready to commit, they're fuckboys, whatever, your brain is subconsciously going to, shift your attention towards those kind of men. So watch out what you, think of. And you should most definitely change that narrative first before you make any moves. Because if you make moves from that consciousness and from that mindset, it's gonna drag you to hell and back.
Yes. Okay, I want to ask you, because I love giving people the opportunity to kind of like manifest their future and like where they're going. So I want to ask you, what's your vision? Like, where are you going? What are you building? Where do you see yourself in whatever timeline? And like, what's the impact? What's the mission that you're on?
This is a great question. When I first saw this question, when you sent me this one, I was like, yeah, she is a coach. Like, yeah. Yeah, I can definitely tell. I loved it. And it put me into like, thinking what I actually want.
Mm.
Well, my vision is to, first of all, like in a short period of time, make this a full-time passion. I'm not going to say it's a job because I don't want it to feel like a typical job.
Mm.
And I work on intentionally creating community of women who want to expand and who are interested in these topics. And I want to create this business. I want to make it larger. I want to create like course catalogs that are very extensive and that serve women in all areas of their life. In short period of time, I wish to host a lot of workshops, events, in-person, meetings and events and workshops, and grow this business and grow women and the communities. So basically, for me, for a long time, I wish this to be a super successful business that empowers women and creates a positive change for like in larger scale, and obviously makes me a rich bitch. I love that as well, and gives me freedom. So that's the short-term and long-term vision. But yeah, for long-term, I definitely wish this to be like a super empowering community that serves women in all areas of their life.
I love it. Is it going to be international or in Finland? What's your mission currently? How do you feel?
Well, this is a problem for me at the moment. Like, this is a genuinely a problem because I don't know whether I should produce content in English or in Finnish. I do the podcast in Finnish, of course, because it's more natural for me. But I feel like, because Finland is such a small place, I will eventually grow out of it. But I don't know whether I should already start doing things in English or just grow, like slowly growing into it. You know what I'm saying? So this is something I will definitely eventually, serve people outside of Finland, but I don't know when is it gonna be.
All right. Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
see. We'll see how this all unfolds for
Oh
you.
yeah, fingers crossed.
International superstar is what I see for you. So,
Ah, thank you. Thank you so much.
all
For
right.
you
So,
as well.
oh, thanks. So where do you want to direct people if they're now like, oh my God, hell yes, I want to learn more from you and work with you. So where do you want people to go and find more about you and what you do?
First of all, I would definitely recommend people to go on my Instagram. So Queens by Young Miss Robinson. You can find a lot of free content there. I have a YouTube channel and then I have a podcast. So this is a perfect like intro thing for everyone to see what I do. The podcast is in Finnish. So if you are non-Finnish speaker, maybe not there for you. I also have my own website, youngmissrobinson.com, and that's linked in my Instagram bio. There you can find information about my coaching, and you can contact me. My website is currently like under construction, or like I'm fine tuning it and creating my own store that you can purchase the coaching calls from. And I'm also available for events. I just hosted an amazing femininity festival and I'm available for workshops and everything. So, people should definitely head over to my Instagram and see what I'm about so they can, see what they see if they like it and, get into my world.
Yes. And if this conversation resonated, I would love the listeners to like either post on their stories, tag both of us, and share like what was the most impactful thing for you. And yeah, what did you learn? What are you going to change about your dating? Like,
Yes, I would love that. And we would love to see those stories posted, and you can DM us feedback as well. So
yes,
if this
absolutely.
resonated.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Peppy, so much. This was amazing. I mean, such an important conversation. So thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you for inviting me. And thank you for providing this conversation for your listeners as well.
Of course.